How did medieval lovers express their deepest desires? What forbidden messages were whispered across the great halls between the years 500 and 1500? And what powerful tokens sealed their affections in a world vastly different from our own? Number 10. Fine clothing and mantles. Dressing well in the Middle Ages was not just about staying warm or looking presentable. It was a loud, clear statement about your place in society, your wealth, and your connections. For a person of high standing, receiving a gift of fine clothing, especially a magnificent mantle or an elaborately tailored gown, was a profound honor. This was not a quick trip to the mall. Every piece of clothing was a labor of love, skill, and considerable expense. The materials themselves spoke volumes. Silk, for instance, had to travel thousands of miles along the Silk Road, bringing with it an air of exotic luxury. Velvet, with its rich pile and deep colors, was another material reserved for the elite, often dyed with expensive pigments derived from rare insects or plants. Wool, while more common, could be transformed into remarkably soft and exquisite cloth through meticulous carding, spinning, and weaving, sometimes even blended with precious gold or silver threads. The creation of these garments was an intricate process, involving skilled artisans from start to finish. Spinners meticulously prepared the yarn, dyers achieved vibrant and lasting colors, and weavers painstakingly created the cloth. Then came the tailor, who with shears and needle transformed the flat cloth into garments that fit the body and adhered to the strict sumptuary laws of the time. These laws dictated who could wear what, based on their social rank, making a gift of forbidden finery an even more potent symbol of favor and boundary-pushing affection. A knight might gift his lady a gown made from rare scarlet wool, dyed with kermes, a pigment that cost more than gold in some periods. This was not just a dress, it was a testament to his resources, and his desire to see her adorned in the very best, publicly displaying her elevated status through his generosity. Such gifts often transcended mere fashion, carrying layers of symbolic meaning. A mantle, a large cloak worn over the shoulders, could represent protection, comfort, and even a form of embrace. When a lord gifted his lady a mantle embroidered with his heraldic device, it was a public declaration of his regard and her association with his lineage. It was a visible sign to the entire court that she was under his protection, metaphorically wrapped in his strength and prestige. The act of giving clothing was also deeply personal. Unlike a piece of jewelry that might be mass-produced in some workshops, clothing was tailored to the recipient, often requiring measurements and fittings which offered opportunities for intimate interaction between the giver and receiver, even if mediated by servants. Historical accounts and epic poems are filled with examples of clothing as significant gifts. In the Arthurian romances, Queen Guinevere often gifts Lancelot favors and tokens, which might include an embroidered sleeve or a ribbon, but the exchange of entire garments, especially cloaks or robes, was also known among nobles. These were items that would be worn and seen by many, a constant reminder of the giver's affection and the wearer's elevated status. Chroniclers described kings and queens exchanging luxurious garments as diplomatic tokens, and often such exchanges held personal undertones. For example, a queen might send a beautifully crafted tunic to a favored knight, a gesture that signaled both her admiration and her trust. Such an item would be worn proudly, perhaps even in battle or at court, allowing the knight to carry a piece of his lady's favor with him at all times. The value of these garments was staggering. A single mantle could cost more than a small house or a year's wages for an average laborer. This meant that the gift was not taken lightly. It represented a significant investment and a profound gesture of commitment. The more intricate the embroidery, the finer the fabric, the rarer the dye, the greater the message of devotion. For a man to dress his chosen lady in such splendor was to elevate her in the eyes of all, showing her worth not just to him, but to the entire social hierarchy. These were not gifts given on a whim, They were carefully chosen, commissioned, and presented with ceremony, marking significant milestones in a relationship, whether a courtship, a betrothal, or a long-standing bond. The rustle of silk, the sheen of velvet, the rich hue of dyed wool. These were the eloquent, silent declarations of love, in a time when gestures often spoke louder than words. Number 9. Small carved objects and keepsakes. In an age before mass production, when every object was crafted by hand, a small personalized carving or keepsake held immense significance. These were not grand jewels or imposing weapons, but rather intimate tokens, often small enough to be held in the palm of a hand, carried close to the body, or secreted away in a private chest. These pensez bien, literally, think well of me, were constant tactile reminders of affection, devotion, or remembrance. They could be carved from bone, ivory, wood, or even semi-precious stones, and their designs were as varied as the imaginations of their creators and recipients. Often these small objects were imbued with specific symbolic meanings, sometimes overt, sometimes subtle. A piece of jet, a dark fossilized wood, might be carved into a heart or an amulet, believed to ward off ill fortune or strengthen love. Ivory, a costly and exotic material, allowed for intricate detail, transforming into tiny figures of saints, mythical creatures, or scenes of courtly love. A small comb, delicately carved with intertwined vines or initials, could be a highly personal gift, used in the intimate ritual of grooming, a constant presence in the daily life of the beloved. Such an item whispered of shared moments, of tenderness, and of a desire for enduring closeness. Craftsmanship involved in these miniature works of art was often extraordinary. A skilled artisan might spend weeks or months on a single piece, using tiny tools to achieve delicate forms and fine details. This dedication of time and skill elevated the object beyond its material value, transforming it into a testament of the giver's esteem. For a lover to commission such a piece was to demonstrate not only wealth, but also a deep understanding of the recipient's tastes and a desire to create something uniquely theirs. The object might be engraved with a personal motto, a short poem, or a hidden initial, known only to the giver and receiver, adding a layer of secret intimacy to the public display of affection. Consider the common motif of the lover's knot or intertwined hands carved onto a small token. This imagery directly communicated fidelity and an unbreakable bond, a promise of enduring connection in a world where relationships could be fragile and life often uncertain. Sometimes these small carvings might depict figures from popular romances like Tristan and Isolde, or Lancelot and Guinevere. Subtly, Rethering shared literary tastes and the idealized medieval society. A young woman might perceive a small pendant carved with a rose, symbolizing beauty and passion, or a bird representing freedom or a messenger of love. These were not just pretty objects. They were carefully chosen symbols, encoded with meaning, meant to resonate deeply with the recipient. These keepsakes were particularly significant for those separated by distance, like knights on crusade or merchants traveling far from home. A small portable token, easily hidden from prying eyes, served as a tangible link to a loved one. A knight might carry a small carved wooden cross, not necessarily for religious devotion alone, but perhaps as a charm blessed by his lady, a constant reminder of her prayers and affection, offering him a sense of protection and spiritual presence even in the midst of battle. Similarly, a lady might hold a miniature carved book or a tiny reliquary, a tangible connection to her absent beloved. These objects transcended their physical form. They became vessels for emotions, memories, and unspoken promises, a silent dialogue between two hearts across vast distances. The act of holding such an object, tracing its contours or feeling its weight, was a way of reconnecting, a private moment of solace and remembrance in a bustling and often chaotic world. Number 8. Roses and symbolic flowers. In the Middle Ages, long before Hallmark cards and flower delivery services, flowers held profound and intricate symbolic meanings, often woven into the very fabric of daily life, art, and literature. Among all flowers, the rose reigned supreme, not just for its exquisite beauty and intoxicating fragrance, but for its rich tapestry of symbolism that made it the ultimate floral ambassador of love and devotion. Different colors, different stages of bloom, and even the presence or absence of thorns all conveyed specific messages, creating a sophisticated language of affection. The red rose, as it is today, was the undisputed emblem of passionate love, desire, and intense emotion. Its deep crimson hue spoke of burning hearts and fervent devotion. To receive a fresh, vibrant red rose from a suitor was a clear and unmistakable declaration of romantic interest, a bold statement in a society that often valued subtlety. But the rose's symbolism was not limited to fiery passion. The white rose, by contrast, represented purity, innocence, and spiritual love, often associated with the Virgin Mary. A suitor might offer a white rose to convey admiration for a lady's virtue, or to express a more chaste, idealized form of affection. Pink roses hinted at gentler emotions, admiration, and budding love, while yellow roses could, depending on the context, signify joy and friendship, or in some later interpretations, jealousy and fading love beyond color. The state of the rose itself carried meaning. Tightly closed buds suggested a secret love, a nascent affection yet to blossom, holding the promise of future passion. A fully opened rose spoke of love in its prime, a declaration of complete devotion. The thorns, too, had their part to play. They reminded lovers that love, while beautiful, could also be painful and fraught with challenges, a constant warning that passion might come with its own set of prickles. Given a rose with thorns might be a subtle hint about the difficulties of a clandestine affair or the obstacles a couple might face. The rose was not merely a physical gift. It permeated medieval culture as a powerful literary and artistic motif. The most famous example is undoubtedly the 13th century allegorical poem, Roman de la Rose, or Romance of the Rose. This vast work, started by Guillaume de Loris and completed by Jean de Meun, uses the quest for a rose in a walled garden as a metaphor for the pursuit of love and knowledge. The rose in the poem represents the beloved lady, or the act of love itself, and the trials and tribulations faced by the lover in his quest for it mirrored the complexities of medieval courtship. To offer a rose was to evoke this rich literary tradition, drawing parallels between the giver and receiver, and the epic lovers of legend. Other flowers also played their part in the silent language of love. Violets, with their delicate beauty and sweet scent, often symbolized humility, faithfulness, and modesty. Lilies, particularly white ones, were emblems of purity, chastity, and regal dignity, often associated with queens or saintly figures. Periwinkle, a creeping vine with small blue flowers, was known for its evergreen leaves and tenacious growth, making it a symbol of enduring love and constancy. Rosemary, frequently used in wedding ceremonies, signified remembrance and fidelity. These floral gifts were often exchanged in small bouquets known as nosegays or tussie-mussies, or simply as single, carefully chosen blooms. They could be presented directly, left discreetly, or even woven into garlands worn at feasts and celebrations. The act of gifting a flower, especially a rose, was a personal and intimate gesture. Unlike a ring or a mantle, a flower was ephemeral, its beauty fleeting. This transient nature added another layer of poignancy to the gift. It spoke of the preciousness of the moment, the delicate nature of love, and the importance of cherishing affection before it faded. A withered rose might be kept as a memento, a reminder of a tender moment or a lost love, its dried petals retaining a ghost of its former fragrance and a powerful echo of emotion. In a world where overt expressions of affection were often constrained by social conventions, the quiet language of flowers provided a nuanced and eloquent means for lovers to communicate their deepest feelings, without uttering a single word. Number 7. Embroidered favors and sleeves. In the chivalric world of the Middle Ages, where knights jousted for honor and ladies held courtly sway, an embroidered favor or a lady's sleeve was far more than just a pretty accessory. These were powerful, intimate tokens, tangible symbols of a woman's regard, often bestowed upon a knight as a pledge of her affection, a source of inspiration, and a promise of success in the face of peril. The very act of creating such a gift was a profound demonstration of devotion, involving hours of meticulous work, personal skill, and artistic expression. Embroidery was a highly esteemed art form, especially among noblewomen. It was a skill taught from a young age, and proficiency in needlework was considered a mark of refinement and virtue. Using fine threads of silk wool or even precious gold and silver, ladies would adorn fabric with intricate patterns, heraldic devices, personal symbols, and sometimes even tiny narratives. When a lady chose to embroider a token for a knight, she literally poured her time, effort, and affection into every stitch. This wasn't merely a gift purchased. It was a piece of her own creative energy, a part of herself given over to her beloved. The most iconic of these embroidered gifts was often a sleeve or a scarf. Imagine a knight preparing for a tournament or setting off for battle. Before the clamor of the joust or the clash of swords, his lady might present him with a colorful, intricately embroidered sleeve, torn from her own gown, or a silk scarf bearing her personal emblem. He would then tie this favor to his helmet, his arm, or his lance, wearing it as a visible testament to her love and as a powerful talisman of protection. The sight of it fluttering in the wind, a beacon of her presence even when she was far away, would undoubtedly steel his resolve and inspire him to greater feats of bravery. It was a public declaration that he rode and fought not just for glory, but for her honor and affection. These favors carried immense symbolic weight. The very act of a lady giving a piece of her clothing, especially a sleeve, was a gesture of profound intimacy and trust. It was a fragment of her being, a physical representation of her warmth and presence. By accepting it, the knight acknowledged his devotion to her and his commitment to upholding her honor through his actions. The favor thus became a shared banner, uniting their destinies and their reputations. If a knight performed exceptionally well in a joust or battle while wearing a lady's favor, it brought honor not only to him but also to her, enhancing her social standing and repute. Literary sources abound with examples of such exchanges. In the tales of King Arthur, knights frequently receive favors from their ladies. Sometimes these are ribbons, sometimes sleeves, and sometimes more elaborate sashes. The Arthurian narrative of Lancelot, the Knight of the Cart, by Chrétien de Troyes, depicts Lancelot wearing Queen Guinevere's sleeve at a tournament, a clear sign of their clandestine yet widely understood affection. His prowess in the joust is directly attributed to the inspiration he draws from her favor. Beyond fiction, historical records also hint at such practices. Medieval tournaments were highly ritualized events, and the exchange of favors was a common element, transforming these contests of skill into stages for romantic declarations and public displays of affection. The favor was a constant reminder of the lady's watchful eye, her expectations, and her unwavering faith, motivated the knight to act with the utmost chivalry, knowing that his deeds reflected directly on the woman who had honored him with her token. Should he fail or act ignobly, he would not only dishonor himself, but also betray the trust implicit in the gift of her favor. Thus, the embroidered sleeve was more than just a pretty scrap of cloth. It was a bond, a challenge, and a powerful symbol of the intricate dance between love, honor, and reputation in the medieval world. It was a silent promise carried into the heart of conflict, a tangible link that bound two souls together even across the roar of battle or the cheers of the tournament crowds. Number 6. Jewels and precious stones. In the glittering courts and bustling marketplaces of the Middle Ages, jewels and precious stones were not just pretty baubles. They were concentrated wealth, potent symbols, and powerful conveyors of meaning. Unlike today, where many gems are accessible in the medieval period, each stone was a rarity, often originating from distant lands, imbued with mystical properties and possessing a captivating beauty that spoke of status, power, and, of course, love. Gifting a jewel was a monumental gesture, a tangible expression of deep affection and immense value. Each type of gem was believed to possess unique virtues and powers, an idea deeply rooted in ancient lore and popular belief. The ruby, with its fiery red glow, was unequivocally associated with passion, love, and courage. It was thought to protect against evil, reconcile disputes, and ensure good health. To give a ruby was to declare a burning, fervent love, a heart laid bare. Sapphires, with their deep blue hues, symbolized truth, loyalty, and heavenly grace. They were believed to protect against envy and attract divine favor, making them a fitting gift to express unwavering fidelity and profound trust in a beloved. Emeralds, vibrant green stones, were linked to growth, fertility, and hope, often associated with new beginnings and enduring love, as well as believed to enhance memory and foresight. Diamonds, while known, were not as extensively cut and faceted to display their brilliance as they are today. They were prized for their hardness and indestructibility, symbolizing eternal love and unbreakable bonds. Pearls formed within living oysters were seen as emblems of purity, innocence, and modesty, often favored by brides. Amethysts, with their royal purple, were associated with sobriety and spiritual wisdom, but could also symbolize deep, thoughtful affection. The value of these stones was astronomical, making them gifts exclusively for the wealthiest nobility and royalty. A single large ruby or sapphire could represent a kingdom's annual revenue, or the equivalent of vast estates. To present such a stone was a powerful statement of a giver's wealth, influence, and the extraordinary esteem in which they held the recipient. It was a tangible investment in a relationship, a promise of a future, secured by shared prosperity and unwavering commitment. These gifts were often set in intricate gold or silver settings, sometimes adorned with delicate filigree or enamel work, further enhancing their artistic and monetary value. Historical records are replete with examples of royal and noble personages exchanging magnificent jewels as tokens of love, alliance, and favor. When Eleanor of Aquitaine, one of the most powerful women of the Middle Ages, gave a ring adorned with a precious gem to a favored knight or a close confidant, it was a gesture understood by all at court as a sign of her particular favor. The gifting of a jewel could also signify a betrothal, with the ring becoming a public symbol of a forthcoming union, often passed down through generations as a family heirloom, imbued with the stories and affections of those who once wore it. Beyond their material value and inherent symbolism, jewels were also treasured for their beauty and ability to catch and reflect light, a captivating quality in an age that primarily by fire. A lady adorned with a necklace of glittering gems or a brooch sparkling with precious stones would truly shine in the dimly lit halls of a medieval castle, drawing all eyes to her and by extension to the one who had so splendidly adorned her. The jewel thus became a part of the wearer's identity, an extension of their beauty and status, and a constant gleaming reminder of the love and generosity of the giver. The act of bestowing a jewel was often accompanied by ceremony presented with solemnity and gravitas. It was a public declaration of love, a testament to the enduring power of affection and a symbol of wealth that could solidify social standing. Unlike fleeting flowers or embroidered favors, a jewel was meant to last, a testament to an enduring bond reflecting light and love for centuries, carrying the weight of its origin in the profound emotions exchanged. Number 5. Hunting falcons and birds. In the high-stakes, hierarchical world of medieval nobility, the gift of a magnificent hunting falcon or a noble sparrowhawk was far more than symbol of status, power, wealth, and an immensely personal gesture of affection. Falconry, the art of hunting with birds of prey, was an aristocratic pursuit reserved for the elite, requiring significant time, skill, and resources. To bestow such a creature was to offer a highly valued possession, a challenging endeavor, and an intimate connection to a shared pastime. These birds were incredibly expensive. A well-trained falcon could be worth more than a warhorse or even a small estate. Their acquisition often involved dangerous expeditions to distant lands, capturing them from the wild or careful breeding. Once acquired, they demanded constant, meticulous care, specialized food, and years of patient training. A master falconer would dedicate his life to understanding the bird's instincts, teaching it to fly, hunt, and return to the lure. The bird's feathers, its eyes, its strength, every aspect was observed and nurtured. Thus, gifting a falcon was not just handing over an animal. It was entrusting a significant investment in a living work of art. The symbolism of the falcon was multifaceted. It embodied freedom, majesty, and predatory skill. A falcon soaring high above, then swooping with incredible speed and precision to capture its prey, was a powerful metaphor for the nobility's own prowess. For a lord to give a lady a falcon, especially a prized peregrine or a gerfalcon, was to acknowledge her high status, her intelligence, and her capacity for mastery. It was a recognition of her ability to engage in a sophisticated pursuit, one that required discipline and grace. Conversely, a lady might gift a falcon to her knight, symbolizing her trust in his skill and her desire for him to succeed in his endeavors, whether in the hunt or on the battlefield. The gift of a falcon often implied a shared activity. Falconry was a social sport enjoyed by both men and women of the noble class. It offered opportunities for courtship and companionship, allowing lovers to spend time together in the outdoors, observing the birds, engaging in spirited chases, and sharing moments of triumph. The process of training a falcon, with its demanding nature and required patience, could also be seen as a metaphor for the complexities of a relationship, requiring dedication, understanding, and mutual respect to truly flourish. The falcon therefore became a tangible link to shared experiences and a growing bond. Literary and historical sources frequently reference the importance of these birds. In countless medieval romances, knights and ladies are depicted with their falcons, coding their noble pursuits and their refined tastes. For instance, in the 14th century Decameron by Boccaccio, the story of Federigo degli Alberighi details a knight who, having lost all his wealth, sacrifices to provide a meal for the woman he loves, Monna Giovanna. This act of profound self-sacrifice, revolving around the most valuable item he possessed, ultimately wins her heart. This tale vividly illustrates the immense value and symbolic weight of these birds in the medieval imagination. The relationship between a falconer and his bird was also deeply intimate, built on trust and a unique understanding. The bird, often perched on the gloved hand, was a constant companion. For a lady to gift a hawk or a falcon to her beloved knight was to give him a living creature that would accompany him, literally holding a piece of her generosity and affection. It was a gift that required ongoing attention, a daily reminder of her thoughtfulness and their bond. The precise handling, the understanding of the bird's temperament, and the shared thrill of a successful hunt created a powerful, unique connection. In a world where possessions were often indicators of power, the gift of a living creature that embodied noble pursuit and demanded such intricate care was a truly profound expression of love and respect. Number 4. Locks of hair. In an age where intimacy was often publicly constrained and private moments were precious, a lock of hair was perhaps one of the most personal and profound gifts a lover could bestow or receive. Unlike grand jewels or public declarations, a lock of hair was a secret, tangible fragment of the beloved, imbued with their very essence and presence. It was a silent whisper of affection, a deeply intimate token that carried immense sentimental and emotional weight, often kept hidden, close to the heart. Hair, throughout history, has held significant symbolic power. In the Middle Ages, it was seen as a vital part of a person's identity, intimately connected to their beauty, strength, and even their soul. Cut a piece of one's hair and give it away was an act of vulnerability, an immense trust, a shedding of a part of oneself to be held by another. It was a gesture that spoke of deep devotion and a desire for an unbreakable personal connection. For the recipient, holding a lock of a loved one's hair was like holding a fragment of their being, a constant, tangible reminder of their presence, even when separated by great distances or social barriers. The way these locks of hair were kept often added to their intimacy. They might be carefully wrapped in silk or velvet, placed within a locket, a small ring, or even a tiny reliquary pendant worn around the neck. Sometimes they were intricately woven into small braids or decorative knots, transforming the raw strands into a miniature work of art, a testament to the care and affection with which they were handled. These hidden treasures were not meant for public display, but for private solace, a secret comfort in moments of longing or remembrance. The symbolism of a lock of hair was multi-layered. It represented remembrance and fidelity, a physical oath to keep the beloved in one's thoughts. It was a tangible link to beauty and youth, preserving a fleeting moment in time. For those separated by war, pilgrimage, or political necessity, a lock of hair served as a potent connection, a piece of the beloved that could be touched, seen, and held. A knight on crusade might carry a small pouch containing a braid of his lady's hair, a silent guardian and a powerful source of inspiration, reminding him of what he was fighting for and the love awaiting his return. Similarly, a lady might keep a snippet of her knight's hair, a memento of his strength and courage, a comfort during his absence. While direct historical citations of specific exchanges of hair are rare in formal documents due to their private nature, literary and artistic evidence points to their prevalence. Courtly romances, ballads, and even some medieval poems hint at this practice. Characters often lament the absence of their beloved, finding solace in a token like a lock of hair. Paintings and illuminated manuscripts sometimes depict such sentimental exchanges, or show individuals wearing lockets that hint at a treasured hidden contents. The very concept of relics, in the religious sense, fragments of saints, revered for their spiritual power, perhaps provided a cultural precedent for the profound reverence with which personal, intimate tokens, like hair, might be held. The deeply personal nature of a lock of hair made it distinct from other gifts. It was not something that could be bought or easily acquired. It was a part of the giver themselves, a raw, unadorned expression of affection that transcended material wealth. It spoke of a bond so strong that a part of one's physical self was entrusted to another. In a world of formality and rigid social structures, the quiet exchange of a lock of hair was a powerful act of intimate connection, a secret sign of a love so profound it sought physical manifestation. It was a tangible secret, a silent testament to an enduring emotional bond, cherished close to the heart. Number 3. Love letters and poetry. In a time when literacy was not widespread and communication across distances was a true challenge, a written love letter or a carefully crafted poem was an extraordinary gift. A testament to profound feeling and intellectual connection. These were not quickly dashed-off notes. They were often elaborate, beautiful creations, penned on expensive parchment, sometimes illuminated with delicate artistry, and delivered with discretion and ceremony. They represented a deeply personal effort, an investment of time, skill, and emotion, conveying sentiments that might be too bold or too tender for public utterance. The act of composing a love letter or poem was an art form in itself. It required not just literacy, but also a mastery of language, rhetoric, and poetic forms. Many medieval letters followed specific conventions, employing elaborate greetings, metaphors, and declarations of undying devotion. For those who could not write, a skilled scribe might be employed, carefully transcribing the dictated words, yet the sentiment remained entirely that of the sender. The very existence of such a letter was a sign of the sender's elevated status and access to education, or their willingness to employ those who had it, all for the sake of expressing their affection. Poetry, in particular, flourished as a medium for love in the Middle Ages, especially within the tradition of courtly love. Troubadours and quatrains in Occitania and northern France created a vast body of lyrical poetry, often celebrating idealized, sometimes unattainable love. These poems, known as cansos or chansons d'amour, were sung, recited, and written down, spreading across Europe. When a lover or their proxy presented a poem to their beloved, they were not just offering words, they were offering a piece of art, a carefully constructed tapestry of emotions, metaphors, and romantic ideals. The poem might praise the lady's beauty, her virtue, her grace, or lament the pain of separation, always with a refined elegance that the secrecy surrounding these exchanges often amplified their allure. Love letters were rarely meant for public consumption. They were private missives, often carried by trusted messengers or secretly slipped into the hands of the beloved. The anticipation of receiving such a letter, the thrill of deciphering its hidden meanings, and the joy of holding words that expressed a personal, fervent emotion made them immensely valuable. These letters provided a direct, intimate channel between two souls, bypassing the formal etiquette of court and society. Consider the famous example of Heloise and Abelard, whose actual correspondence from the 12th century reveals an intellectual and passionate love that defied societal norms. While their letters are exceptional for their raw honesty and philosophical depth, they highlight the power of the written word to connect across vast distances, and even in the face of adversity. Though not typical courtly love letters, they demonstrate the profound human need to articulate and preserve deep emotional bonds through text. Beyond grand literary works, many smaller personal poems and letters likely circulated among the literate elite. A lord might send a rhyming couplet, praising his lady's eyes, or a lady might respond with verses expressing her favor. These exchanges were not merely expressions of sentiment, they were intellectual games, tests of wit, and demonstrations of refined taste. The language used was often highly stylized, drawing on classical and romantic motifs, creating a sense of shared understanding and a private world built on words. Permanence of the written word also gave these gifts a unique advantage. Unlike a fleeting flower or a spoken word, a letter or poem could be reread, cherished, and kept as a tangible reminder of affection for years, even decades. It was a physical manifestation of a relationship, a silent testament to enduring feelings. In a world where personal communication was limited, a love letter or poem was a priceless pact, a direct connection to the heart and mind of the sender, offering solace, inspiration, and a lasting echo of a profound emotional bond. Number 2. Girdles and belts. In the intricate social tapestry of the Middle Ages, girdles and belts were far more than simple accessories to hold up clothing. These adornments carried immense symbolic weight, especially in the context of love and fidelity. Often elaborately crafted and made from fine leather, silk, or metal, A girdle could represent chastity, loyalty, binding affection, and even possession. To give or receive a girdle was a deeply symbolic act, fraught with meaning in a society where female virtue was highly prized and male honor was paramount. For women, the girdle was inextricably linked to modesty and chastity. Worn around the waist, it served to cinch and define the figure, but also metaphorically bound the wearer, symbolizing her purity and faithfulness. When a woman presented her girdle to a man, especially a knight, it was a gesture of profound trust and intimate connection. It was not merely a decorative item. It was a token of her virtue, an offering of her very essence and honor. The knight, by accepting it, pledged to protect her honor as he would his own, making it a powerful reciprocal bond. The girdle could also represent a binding promise, an unbreakable vow. Just as a belt encircles and holds, so too did the gift of a girdle symbolize a committed relationship, a promise of fidelity. This was particularly true in betrothal ceremonies, where the exchange of girdles could be a symbolic precursor to the marriage vows, tying two individuals together in a solemn pledge. The more elaborate the girdle, the greater the message of commitment and status. Some girdles were adorned with precious metals, intricate buckles, or even small pouches containing sentimental objects, further enhancing their value and meaning. For men, a belt was a sign of status and a practical item from which to hang weapons or tools. However, a belt given by a lady took on a completely different significance. It became a personal favor, a mark of her affection, and a symbol of his strength and her trust in his prowess. A knight might wear a lady's girdle around his armor or even his person, much like an embroidered sleeve, as a source of inspiration and a visible declaration of his lady's favor before a tournament or battle. It was a tacit statement to the world that he was bound to her, and she had entrusted him with a piece of her honor. The symbolism of the girdle is deeply woven into medieval literature and folklore. In some narratives, the girdle of a lady possessed magical properties, offering protection or ensuring victory for the knight who wore it. This magical aspect underscored the powerful belief that the lady's virtue and love could literally safeguard her beloved. Tale of Gawain and the Green Knight prominently features a magical green girdle given to Gawain by Lady Bertilac, which he believes will protect him from harm. Although the girdle ultimately represents his moment of failing chivalry, its initial presentation and his belief in its protective power highlight the deep symbolic resonance of this gift. Beyond its physical presence, the girdle also represented the concept of unbinding and binding within courtly love. To ungird someone could be a gesture of intimacy or vulnerability, while to gird someone could be to equip them for a journey or battle, empowering them with a piece of the giver's spirit. The choice of material and decoration for a girdle further enhanced its meaning. A silk girdle might speak of luxury and delicate affection, while a leather girdle with an ornate metal buckle could symbolize strength and enduring loyalty. These gifts were not always openly exchanged. Sometimes a girdle might be discreetly given, a secret token between lovers, a personal connection hidden beneath layers of clothing or behind closed doors. Whether openly displayed or privately cherished, the girdle was a powerful emblem of love, fidelity, and personal connection in the medieval world. A tangible cord that bound two hearts together in a world of rigid social rules. It was a silent, eloquent promise wrapped around the waist, a constant reminder of a sacred bond. Number 1. Rings. Across the vast expanse of the Middle Ages, from the humblest peasant to the mightiest monarch, no gift carried more enduring weight and universal symbolism of love and commitment. Its circular form with no beginning and no end perfectly embodied the concept of eternal love, unending fidelity, and an unbroken bond. More than a mere adornment, a ring was a tangible promise, a public declaration, and often a legal seal of a betrothal or marriage. The types of rings varied widely, depending on wealth and status, but their core symbolism remained constant. For the wealthy, rings could be crafted from gold or silver, adorned with precious gemstones like rubies, sapphires, or diamonds, each stone carrying its own layer of meaning. For the less affluent, rings might be made from bronze, iron, or even carved bone, yet their significance was no less profound. The value lay not just in the material, but in the enduring promise it represented. The tradition of gifting rings for love and betrothal stretches back to ancient times, but it solidified and evolved significantly throughout the medieval period. Roman traditions of betrothal rings, often made of iron, passed into early medieval practice, symbolizing enduring strength and commitment. As the Middle Ages progressed, the rings became more ornate, reflecting the growing sophistication of metalwork and gem cutting. The specific finger on which a ring was worn also carried meaning. The fourth finger of the left hand, often believed to contain the vena amoris, or vein of love that ran directly to the heart, became the traditional placement for betrothal and wedding rings, a practice that endures to this day. The giving of a ring was often a pivotal moment in a courtship, transforming a nascent affection into a formal pledge. This was particularly true for engagement rings, which were often exchanged in public or semi-public ceremonies, witnessed by family and friends. The ring served as a visible sign to the community that a union was planned, and that the woman was spoken for, deterring other suitors. For the man, it was a demonstration of his serious intent and his ability to provide. For the woman, it was a mark of her worth and the honor bestowed upon her. Some rings were engraved with personal messages or mottos, often in Latin, or the vernacular, known as posy rings. These short, often poetic inscriptions, hidden on the inside or outside of the band, added another layer of intimacy and private meaning. Phrases like amor vincit omnia, love conquers all, mors mihi lucrum, death is my gainers, or simple declarations like my love or true love, transformed the ring into a personal testament of affection, a secret whispered directly from the giver to the wearer. These personalized rings made the gift even more unique and irreplaceable. Royal and noble marriages, often arranged for political alliances, still incorporated the ritual of ring exchange, symbolizing the personal bond that would hopefully grow within the political union. Historical accounts often detail the elaborate rings commissioned by kings and queens for their spouses, studded with the finest gems and intricate carvings, sometimes featuring the couple's coats of arms or symbolic imagery. These were not just personal gifts. They were state symbols, representing the binding of kingdoms through the union of two individuals. The symbolism of the circle extended beyond eternal love. It also represented completeness, unity, and a never-ending cycle, reflecting the hope for a long and prosperous life together. The opening in the center of the ring could be seen as a gateway, a portal to a shared future. Unlike other tokens that might be worn on specific occasions, a ring was typically worn constantly, a continuous physical reminder of the bond and the person who bestowed it. It was a constant presence, a tactile reassurance, a silent conversation between two souls. In a world where commitments were often sealed with oaths and tangible symbols, the ring stood as the quintessential emblem of enduring love, a powerful, simple, yet infinitely profound statement of forever.